Did you just get your property tax notice in the mail? I did. The 2023 Real Property Notice of Evaluation just came in. Looks like this. It's a postcard, and it will tell you what your current value is, what your previous value is, and the change in that value. What it won't tell you, not yet, is what your actual tax bill is going to be. That notice will come out in the fourth quarter. So this just tells you what the value of your home is. And were you a little shocked? I know I was a little shocked, but of course we just built a home, so I expected that. But you might not have. So when you look at this, you might think, oh my goodness, what does this mean? So you can quickly figure out, based on what the tax rates are, what that change of your tax payment is going to be. And you might want to do that. I just got off the phone with a couple of my coworkers, and it's as much as $200 a month difference. That can really squeeze a budget, especially if you're on a limited budget. What if you're already retired, or you've been saving up to purchase this dream home, and then that just knocked you out of the ballpark? All of those things are things that you're going to want to be thinking about right now. So I just want to quickly go over what can you do about it? What are the next steps? And then maybe how can the Rueth team help you make the determination? All right. So here's how it works. So this card. So property tax notifications go out every odd year. So we just got one in 2023. We won't get another one until 2025. And it looks back at the last 2 years. So we're going to be looking at 2021 and 2022. And I don't know how your property value did, but a lot of them went up. In fact, the Denver average went up 35%. So that means a 35% increase in your property tax bill, give or take. That's significant. As soon as you get this, you can protest the value. That's the first step. And there'll be instructions on the card on how to do that. And every county is different. So I can't sit here and tell you what the protest instructions are because they're not run by state, they're run by county. So you'll want to look at your dates. So specifically, the Denver County has a deadline that you have to protest the value by June 1st. So you definitely want to jump on this. Don't throw it in a drawer and say, I'll deal with it later. You want to deal with it now. Because if your home has deficiencies, you want to bring that to the attention of your county tax assessor. So you're going to want to write up and evaluate everything that might be deficient or might create a lower value than what is noted on this property tax valuation. Anything that you can think of, but don't go using a comp from earlier this year, because those aren't included. This has to be done from the previous 2 years. So you're going to probably need some help, somebody that's got some data, whether that's your real estate agent, whether that's some of the data that we can put together for you, or maybe even a real estate attorney. But you're going to want to put together some data. What you won't have is all the comps that the county that you're in is specifically using. You'll get that after you submit the first protest. So once you submit your protest, and there's definitely different ways that you can submit it, whether it's online or in person, you can submit that protest, and you'll want to do it by the date. Make sure to watch this, and then it will go to the county. If you further want to appeal the process, you can do that as well. Maybe they come back to you and say, based on the data we've collected, and they'll submit the data to you, we determine that this is truly, in fact, your new value, and they'll give you the data they used. Then you can appeal the process. All of this is something that you're going to want to do. Now, the likelihood is that this is going to go into effect in 2025, depending on how fast you put your ducks in a row, and depending on how fast the protest and the appeal process is, you might be able to change it for this year. If you get behind the 8 ball, it might be a little bit later. But there's some things that Polis is doing as well. And I want to double click on that, because some of what he's trying to do is expedited. He's trying to make a difference for this tax year. So we're talking about those bills that are going to come due in the spring of 2024. So typically, most homeowners pay their bills in 2 increments. You can pay them the first installment in February and the second installment in June, or you can pay it all in April. So that's the tax bill period we're talking about. The tax year is 2023. Polis just came out. He had an interview that I just listened to online where he's talking about the fact that, I mean, come on, guys, we have the lowest property tax rate in the country. It's not the very lowest, but we're pretty darn close. And we need those monies to support our education, our schools, and our mental health facilities. In fact, it's one of the reasons why Colorado was first to market with legalizing marijuana, was to create more tax income. So I don't know how much pushback he's going to have when he goes and tries to submit changes, but he also said we're going to try and do 2 things. We're going to try to implement a temporary tax rate decrease. Temporary is the key word here. It's not a permanent. It's not going to go into effect year over year over year. It's going to go into effect for a very temporary period of time if he, in fact, is successful in dropping the tax rate. Remember, we have one of the lowest tax rates. I don't expect that it would stay there long. The other aspect he's trying to affect is that minimum threshold by which you are not taxed. Now, typically on the first 200,000 of property value, remember, seniors, if you've been living in your home consecutively for the last 10 years and you're at least 65 years old, you're going to have a 50% decrease in your property taxes on that first 200,000. But you also have an amount of your valuation that's not taxed. He's trying to increase that amount to greater impact that tax bracket of those homes that are worth under 500,000. Now, it will also benefit somebody who owns a $2 million home, just maybe not as much because that threshold is going to be significantly lower. That's what Polis is trying to do, and he's trying to put something out to public as early as next week. If he does that and he gets a rally behind him, we might see that we get some relief from this specific tax bill. But we know for sure that the changes that are implemented will go into effect by 2025, the next time the valuation rolls out. All of this is because you have gained such incredible equity and value in your homes. It's one of those things where it's like every time I talk to a self-employed person who had a phenomenal tax year, they're kicking themselves for all the taxes that they're having to pay the government. Well, I get it, but it's a good problem to have. But it also can pinch those who have been in their home for a long period of time and were simply trying to stay in Colorado. So what can you do about it? Well, we could consider a cash out refinance or a home equity line of credit, to whether it's to pay that bill or to put some money in your savings account against that tax bill and future tax bills. So that's an option to capitalize on some of that gifted equity in order to pay for the taxes for that gifted equity. Now, that comes with a downside. It comes with a higher monthly mortgage payment every month. So you've got to take that into consideration. If you're a senior, you might want to consider now is the right time to do a reverse mortgage. A reverse mortgage will not get rid of your property taxes. You'll still have your property tax bill and your insurance bill, but you won't have your mortgage bill any longer. You won't have the principal and interest portion of your mortgage. So if you're still paying a mortgage and you're over the age of 62 and you want to stay in your home, you might consider reverse mortgage. And we do that. In fact, we're one of the top reverse mortgage lenders in the country. Movement Mortgage is. So as Movement Mortgage can support you with a reverse mortgage to wipe away that portion of your monthly mortgage bill, to allow you the breadth and the capacity to pay the increase in property taxes, keeping you in your home. The other option might be getting creative, and it's one of the ones that I hold dear and I love, which is looking at the possibility of rental income. Can you rent out a room? Can you rent out a mother-in-law suite in the basement? Can you build an auxiliary dwelling unit in the backyard? Now, those auxiliary dwelling units are subject to the county, so you'll definitely want to check the zoning for your specific area. But can you build something that creates and generates income? Shoot, I've got some people that literally rent out their garages. If you have a detached garage, it might be the perfect thing to rent out to other people who might need a workshop, additional storage, or maybe they have additional cars that they're wanting to store. So that might be a consideration to rent out opportunities within your current real estate. Of course, moving is always an option, but remember to look at where you're moving to. Especially if your mortgage is on the lower side, you might be moving to a state that has higher property taxes. So definitely check out and assess before you make that decision. Should you have specific questions and you want to dive into your options specifically, please give me a call. The Rueth team would love to go to work for you because I know this can be extremely stressful. And while I can't make property taxes lower, I can certainly provide creative options to support you during the process. Nicole Rueth with the Rueth team. Hope you guys are making a fantastic Tuesday. I'll talk to you soon.